The Battle of Sepath in 11M31. Feeling directly responsible for the Night Haunter's rampage on Macridge, the Lion continued to obsessively hunt his wayward former brother for the next 2 standard years. In 11M31, he eventually was able to trace a slim lead on Curz's whereabouts to the Sepath system, which had since fallen to the forces of the Word-Bearers and World-Eaters during their Shadow Crusade campaign. Fareth Redloss, the voted lieutenant of the Dark Angels Dreadwing, was charged with leading the hunt for Conrad Curze upon the world of Sepath. The Dark Angels quickly uncovered the horrors perpetrated by the Word-Bearers to power their dark rituals. Eventually, the Dark Angels took part in multiple engagements against the forces of both traitor legions, which culminated in Sepath's capital city of Menace. The traitor forces were utterly annihilated by the victorious Dark Angels, and the world was left in the care of its surviving population. The Exile of the Lion, circa 11M31. While continuing his obsessive hunt for the elusive Night Haunter, Lionel Johnson and Robert Gilliman continuously clashed over policies, especially in regards to the security of the Imperium Secundus, and how best to deal with the emergence of rebels on Macridge that the Lion was certain Conrad Curze had something to do with. Following the suicide bombing of an Astartes convoy, the Lion used the First Legion to establish martial law on Macridge. Certain that Curze was hiding within the rebellious Illyrium region of the planet, the Lion advocated the use of a massive orbital saturation bombardment of the area to ensure Curze's death. Facing resistance from both Emperor Sanguinius and Gilliman, the Lion instead opted to deploy his legion's Dreadwing in order to flush out Curze and the rebels. During an attack on the city of Alma-Mons, the Lion finally cornered the elusive Night Lord's Primarch, and the two came to blows. After a brutal confrontation, the Lion eventually emerged victorious, and questioned his brother why he had turned away from the Emperor, to which Curze simply replied, "Why not?" Curze went on to explain that there was a monster in his head that he could not stop. Though he finally had him at his mercy, the Lion couldn't bring himself to kill his brother, and instead pummeled him again. The Lion ripped his backpack from his battle plate and then lifted him over his head, brutally bringing him down across his knee, breaking Curze's spine, paralyzing him. The Lion brought the grievously wounded Curze before Sanguinius and Gilliman to stand trial. A triumvirate was held where Curze defended his actions, but refused to admit his guilt. Since each of the Primarchs had been created to perform a specific function, he claimed that he was merely acting according to his own nature, and therefore had committed no crimes. The Night Lord's Primarch further divided Gilliman and the Lion by accusing the latter of secretly ordering the orbital bombardment Illyrium in direct violation of Gilliman's orders. Enraged, the Lion sought to kill Curze, but was halted by the words of Sanguinius and Gilliman, who snatched L. Johnson's Lion Sword and broke the blade across his armored thigh. L. Johnson was furious, but Sanguinius dismissed the Lord Protector of the Imperium, ending the triumvirate. The Lion was subsequently banished from the Imperium by Sanguinius and Gilliman. Taking their leave, the Dark Angels withdrew from Macridge only solar hours later. Standing in the chamber of the Tuchalcha engine, the Lion brooded over recent events as he questioned his actions over the course of the last few solar decades. The banishment of Luther, the death of Nemiel, as well as other decisions he had come to regret. As the Dark Angels made their final preparations to depart back to Caliban, the Lion ordered the Tuchalcha engine to teleport himself and Holgin, Deathbringer, the voted lieutenant of the Deathwing, back to Macridge. As Sanguinius prepared to execute Curze for his crimes, both the Lion and his lieutenant teleported directly into the chamber and told Sanguinius to stop. As troops entered the room, demanding that the Lion surrender, L. Johnson explained his reasons for the intrusion. He reasoned that Kurz had the ability to see precognitive visions of potential futures, and repeated the Night Haunter's claim that his death would one day come at the hands of an assassin sent by the Emperor. If this was true, the Lion reasoned then it was proof that the Emperor was still alive. Sanguinius knew the Lion's explanation rang true, as he recognized that his own precognitive visions of his inevitable death would also eventually come to pass. When Guilliman demanded to know what would become of Kurz, Lion knelt before his two brothers and promised that he would be Kurz's jailer. Passage of the Angels, from 11 to 13 M31. The campaign of vengeance against the traitor legion's home planets during the Horus Heresy, that was later remembered as the Passage of the Angels, also known as the Crusade of Vengeance, was a brutal loyalist counter-offensive spearheaded by the Dark Angels Legion and led by Lionel Johnson. They wreaked havoc across the southern Imperium in a campaign of revenge and extermination. The campaign was designed to both punish the traitorous forces of the Warmaster Horus and destroy their military assets in the region. This systematic annihilation of resource-rich worlds deprived the Warmaster and his forces of precious material he needed to maintain a lengthy siege of the Imperium's throne world of Terra. By taking such drastic measures, the Lions sought to prevent the Warmaster from establishing a second front against Terra. The Lion authorized the usage of forbidden weaponry from the Age of Strife held in the Dark Angels Legion's armory, which resulted in a trail of burning and scorched worlds that were loyal to Horus left in the Loyalists' wake. The Second Battle of Davin in 11M31. The world of Davin, where Horus first fell to the temptations of chaos, was destroyed in the first act of the Dark Angels' judgment upon the traitors. After the destruction of Davin, the ruin storm began to dissipate, allowing the Dark Angels to embark on a crusade of extermination against traitor worlds across the vast reaches of the Imperium's southern segmente. At the Lion's direct command, long-forbidden weapons from the earliest days of the Great Crusade, dating back to the Age of Strife, were loosed upon those who turned from the Emperor, burning whole worlds from existence. The Angels' crusade of extermination was designed to both punish the traitors and destroy their military assets. The death of Chemos in 12M31. Chemos, the home world of the Emperor's Children Legion, came under direct attack by the Dark Angels during the passage of the Angels campaign. The Angels' armada smashed through the Emperor's Children's system defense fleet, leaving behind them only the smoldering wrecks of venerable 3rd Legion warships and frozen corpses floating in the darkness of the void. The invasion that followed saw the Dreadwing deployed to the surface of Chemos en masse to engage the Emperor's Children garrison and plant seismic devices of immense potency in key locations on the planet. The Emperor's Children, though vastly outnumbered, fought fiercely in defense of their homeworld and inflicted heavy casualties upon the invaders. But ultimately, it proved a futile effort. The Dreadwing was merciless in the prosecution of attacks on strategic targets and scoured enemy strongholds of all life using weapons born of humanity's darkest nightmares. With their objectives completed, the Dark Angels returned to their fleet in orbit and remotely detonated the seismic macro charges. A chain of catastrophic explosions racked Chemos and split its tectonic plates apart, creating kilometers-deep canyons that swallow the dying planet's glittering metropolises into their cavernous depths. At the height of this cataclysm, the Dark Angel's fleet initiated the orbital bombardment, launching a spread of cyclonic torpedoes at predetermined weak spots across the world's surface, each strike piercing the weakened crust and detonating within Chemos' planetary core. The once proud homeworld of the Emperor's children broke apart, sending colossal slabs of planetary debris tumbling through space. The Chemos system was declared perdita, and warning beacons promising swift retribution upon any trespassers were placed around the system's boundaries before the Dark Angels departed to continue their crusade of vengeance.